What is going on with fighting games, man? What in the actual fuck is going on with fighting games, chat? What the hell? You guys realize there was not a single fighting game revealed at E3. I want to throw in real quick right here, before I let myself rant a little bit more. The Bandai Namco thing is tomorrow, so there's still a possibility for Tekken 8. I will talk about Tekken 7 and Tekken 8 in a little bit later in the video, but there's still a chance for that. Doubtful, but I wanted to add that little cliff note here. Street Fighter 2 Turbo Arcade Cabinet by Arcade 1UP was literally the only fighting game we got. What is going on? How many fighting games have we had come out in the past, like, 2 years? We've had Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 11, and a Virtua Fighter 5 remaster. And Blaze Blue Cross Tags something. It feels like we're in the dark ages of fighting games again. If anybody remembers, like, the mid-2000s fighting game times when we were getting, like, Street Fighter Cross Tekken and other Street Fighter games that we won't talk about, and the 3D era Mortal Kombat games, like, it feels like we're back in that shit, man. The fact that I know for a fact that every fighting game fan around the world that was interested in watching this event or fighting games, hoping for something, not even like completely new fighting games, like Mortal Kombat fans, they wanted Combat Pack 3 or maybe Injustice 3 because that makes sense and their game's been dead for 7 fucking months. Or Street Fighter fans maybe wanted to see the last character of their fucking season that they're getting, the last season, and maybe a teaser for Street Fighter 6. Tekken 7, maybe we want to see Tekken 8 after 6 fucking years. Guilty Gear Strive is literally the best fighting game to come out in years, and that's because it's the only fighting game to come out in years. Virtua Fighter 5 Remaster is good. It's a good, honest, fundamental fighting game. It's fun, right? But the netcode is complete ass, because the developers for that, the dudes who decide that shit, are fucking complete and utter self-centered dipshits who think that they know best, and their absorbed delay-based netcode is going to help people play. Bro, I can't play someone in fucking Idaho from Virginia without fucking pressing my button and then the character moving 30 frames later. Like, what the fuck? You know? And then we've got Mortal Kombat 11 that is just the most bass-ackwards designed fighting game I've ever played in my fucking life. Street Fighter and Tekken just want to keep adding new content, even though I don't even fucking know when it comes to that. Street Fighter's gotten a lot better. Tekken's been fun. Tekken 7 is a lot of fun. But, you know, the game's been out for 6 years, and it's been out in arcades, you know, since 2015, man. Arcades in Japan. Dragon Ball, people still play that, but again, it's delay-based netcode, and it feels terrible online, and it's got some really fucking dumb mechanics in that as well. Guilty Gear is literally the only thing holding up fighting games right now. I mean, yeah, Street Fighter is doing a decent job at it. Street Fighter 5's big turnaround, changing a lot of the systems, making it a lot more fun for people to actually play. You know, that has, you know, held up the fighting game community, at least on the Capcom side, the people who like fighting games like that. But the great thing about fighting games has always been is there's been so many different types of fighting games. You want to play like fast, crazy-ass action fighting games, go to Marvel vs. Capcom, or now Guilty Gear, or now Dragon Ball. You want to play fundamental-based fighting games, play Virtua Fighter, play Tekken, play Street Fighter. You want to play something in between with some sick-ass combos, play Mortal Kombat, play Injustice. You know, like, there's always been something for everyone. There's always been multiple different fighting games. If you get bored of one that was out at that current point in time, you can go play another. But now it's just like, you got Guilty Gear, bitch. You don't want to play Guilty Gear? You got Street Fighter 5, motherfucker. You don't want to play Street Fighter 5, dude? You got Mortal Kombat 11. You don't want to play Mortal Kombat 11? You got Tekken 7. And the sad thing is, it's all these games have been out for years, except for Guilty Gear. All these games have been out for 2+ years. And it's like, all of them are simplified versions of what they used to be, aside from Tekken 7. Even Guilty Gear is simplified. Job won't hold it up for long. The gameplay itself isn't going to carry it. Yeah, and that's a problem. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people who enjoy those characters, and I enjoy the characters. But even then, like I was just saying, Guilty Gear Strive is a dumbed down version of Guilty Gear XRD Rev 2. Like, and Sign, and all the other Guilty Gears. They added a bunch of casual, confusing. It's confusing because they tried to make it more casual based. They tried to make it easier to understand and easier for casual players to get into it, but in the end made it more confusing with systems like the wall break, which the people who do understand the numbers for it still don't understand the numbers for it, if that makes any sense at all. It doesn't to them either. But that game's not going to be carried for very long because it's just like Mortal Kombat 11, except it's a lot more fun than Mortal Kombat 11. And I will hold this, I will take this to the grave. Guilty Gear Strive, Street Fighter V, and Mortal Kombat 11 are all the same game. It's just Street Fighter and Guilty Gear did it in a way where it's still a lot of fun to play. In most cases than Mortal Kombat 11, but they took what each character could do in the previous games and they cut that in fucking half. And that is killing the fighting games, and they're expecting these versions of the fighting games, these fighting games that have been cut in half, to last years longer than their predecessors did. Not realizing that the only reason the predecessors lasted that long is because of the amount of things that you could do in those fighting games. These fighting games that are cut in half and they want them to last longer don't do that because there's not as many things that you can do in as many different ways, so the shit gets boring. Each character can only fucking, even in Strive, as fun as some of the characters are, like fucking Monkey Boy Bad Guy, goddamn Potemkin, fucking Big Gorilla Daddy, and, you know, someone like Zato, as fun as they are, you're still gonna notice yourself only doing the same few things over and over and over again. And no matter how much fun it is to do those things over and over and over again because it looks cool as shit, it's eventually gonna get boring as hell. And that's kind of the thing with Mortal Kombat 11. It was a shock with how good the game looked and some of the characters in the game for Mortal Kombat 11, but like once you realize that you're literally doing the same two things every fucking match and hitting the same combo in mid-screen and the corner every match, you're like, I'm fucking bored. I really don't know what fighting games are doing right now. I'm not asking for a series like Marvel vs. Capcom to be brought back after Infinite. I mean, that's a prayer. You know, that's a prayer. But some of the games that we know that are going strong, like the series that are going strong, like Street Fighter and Tekken and NRS games, you know, some shit like that. Like, maybe give us some breadcrumbs. You know, we haven't had new games in years. Maybe it's time to give some teasers. Like, Jesus Christ alive. It's just been, I mean, and even if you look at, like, E3 and all the events from last year, right? Like, all the events from last year, not even just specifically E3. I don't even remember if there was an E3 last year because of the pandemic. But even last year, there was nothing for fighting games. It was horrible. And the only thing that I can think of that's causing all this is the pandemic. They're like, well, what the hell is the point in announcing or making new fighting games with the pandemic going on? There's restrictions. A lot of the money that they're making nowadays is these live events that you go to. You know, you pay to get into. It makes a shit ton of money on Twitch and YouTube from live streams and highlights and shit, you know? Which, that's understandable, but there's still plenty of events going on online settings, like Street Fighter V has shown that, and there's still plenty of people that will buy and play these fucking games. Mortal Kombat 11 has sold fucking over 8 million copies. Like, holy shit, you know? I'm pretty sure it's a smart business decision. I want fighting games to come back in a big way, man. I want fighting games to come back. I want fighting games to come back the way that Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 brought fighting games back in the mid 2000s, early 20s.